Far beyond the edges of the known galaxy, a peaceful race of aliens once thrived on their homeworld. They were called the Athelians, known for their intelligence, their compassion, and their advanced technologies. For centuries, they had been respected members of the Galactic Council, working together with countless other species to promote peace and prosperity throughout the stars. But all of that changed in an instant. A mysterious energy wave, far stronger than anything the Athelians had ever encountered, surged through their homeworld. The wave caused massive damage to their planet, destroying cities, burning crops, and making the atmosphere unstable. It seemed as if the planet itself was fighting against its inhabitants. The Athelians tried everything to save their world, using every bit of their advanced technology, but it was all in vain. Their home was dying. As the situation worsened, the Athelians turned to the Galactic Council, hoping for assistance. But instead of the help they so desperately needed, the Council turned its back on them. The leaders of the galaxy, who once called the Athelians allies, now treated them as a burden. "You have failed," they said. "Your species is beyond saving. You must leave your home and find another place in the galaxy." The Council made it clear, no help would come. They offered nothing but cold words and harsh decisions. In a meeting that would forever change the fate of the Athelians, they were officially exiled. Their planet, a once thriving world, was left to wither and die, and the Athelians were abandoned in the vast emptiness of space. Captain Kale, the leader of the Athelian ship that carried the survivors, stared out into the cold darkness of space. His heart ached as he looked at the faces of his people, those who had once been part of a proud civilization, now reduced to refugees. The ship was small, designed for a peaceful journey, not the desperate flight they now found themselves on. "The Council has cast us aside," Kale said softly, his voice barely audible over the hum of the ship's engines. "But that doesn't mean we have to disappear. There must be a place for us. We just need to find it." His second-in-command, a wise and older Athelian named Tessa, placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're right, Kale. We have to find a new home. But where? The galaxy is vast. So many places have rejected us already." Kale nodded. He understood her concerns, but he refused to give up. The Athelians had survived countless challenges before, and he was determined they would survive this one as well. They spent weeks traveling through the dark stretches of space, searching for any planet that could offer them shelter. But as time passed, their hopes began to fade. No planet seemed willing to take them in. The galaxy's doors were shut tight, and no one seemed to care about the fallen race. Then one day, a beacon from a distant planet caught their attention. It was Earth, a small, mostly unknown planet in a distant star system. The signal was weak, but it was a message from a race that had never been a part of the Galactic Council. Kale felt a spark of hope. "Earth," Kale murmured, reading the message again. "It's our only chance." Tessa raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure, Captain? We don't know anything about these people. They might not be able to help us." Kale's eyes were determined. "We have no other choice. If we don't try, we will have nowhere left to go." With a deep breath, Kale gave the order. The Athelian ship changed course, heading toward the small blue planet. As the ship moved closer to Earth, Kale could see it. A beautiful world, filled with life, a sharp contrast to the dark void they had been floating in for so long. The crew gathered together, each one of them feeling a mix of hope and fear. They had been rejected by the entire galaxy. What if Earth rejected them, too? But as they approached Earth's atmosphere, something surprising happened. A message appeared on their communication system, coming from Earth itself. It was not a military threat or a warning. It was a greeting. "This is Earth. We see you. We will listen." Captain Kale's heart raced. For the first time in weeks, there was a glimmer of hope. Perhaps Earth would be different. Perhaps Earth would offer them the sanctuary they so desperately needed. The Athelians had been cast aside by the galaxy, but this small, unknown planet might just be their last hope. The journey to Earth had only just begun, and with it, a new chapter in their survival story. The Athelian ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its engines humming softly as it glided towards the surface. Captain Kale sat in the command chair, watching the blue planet grow larger on the view screen. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of hope. Earth was the last chance for his people, and he couldn't afford to fail. The ship was a small one, built for exploration and peace, not for the desperate circumstances they now faced. As they entered the atmosphere, the crew could feel the tension in the air. The unknown stretched out before them, a world full of people who might help them or reject them entirely. "Captain, we're being hailed," Tessa said from her station. Her voice was steady, but Kale could hear the underlying worry in it. "It's coming from Earth." Kale nodded. "Put it through." A moment later, a human voice filled the ship's communication system. "This is Earth Command. We've detected your arrival. Please state your intentions." The voice was calm but firm, and Kale could sense the caution behind it. He took a deep breath, knowing this moment would determine everything. "This is Captain Kale of the Athelian fleet," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We seek refuge. Our homeworld is gone, and the galaxy has abandoned us. We need your help." There was a long pause on the other end. Kale's heart raced as he waited for a response, wondering if the humans would turn them away like the rest of the galaxy had. Finally, the voice spoke again. "Understood, Captain. You are not the first to seek our assistance, though I must inform you that we are not part of the Galactic Council. We have our own ways of dealing with such matters. Please land at the coordinates we'll provide. We will discuss this further in person." Kale exhaled slowly. It wasn't a promise of help, but it was an invitation. That was more than he had received from anyone in the galaxy in weeks. The ship followed the coordinates provided by Earth Command, heading towards a large open area on the planet's surface. As they neared the landing site, Kale could see a group of humans standing in the distance, watching them. They were dressed in simple clothing, not military uniforms, and there was no sign of aggression in their posture. It was a strange feeling for Kale. After everything they had been through, this was the first time he saw beings who seemed neither afraid nor hostile. The Athelian ship gently touched down on the grass, the landing gear making a soft thud as it settled into place. The crew stood in silence for a moment, unsure of what would come next. Kale stood up, straightening his uniform, and motioned for Tessa to follow him. They walked toward the exit of the ship, where the humans were waiting. The door of the Athelian ship opened with a soft hiss, and Kale stepped out into the fresh air of Earth. The humans, led by a woman with short brown hair and a confident demeanor, stepped forward to greet them. "I am President Elara Rhodes," she said, offering her hand to Kale. "Welcome to Earth." Kale hesitated for a moment before shaking her hand. There was something different about this woman. She wasn't just a leader. There was kindness in her eyes, a warmth that Kale hadn't seen in a long time. She was not here to judge them, not here to turn them away. She was here to listen. "I'm Captain Kale, and this is Tessa," Kale replied. "We come seeking refuge. Our people have nowhere else to go." President Rhodes nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I understand. Earth is a small world, but we believe in helping those in need. However, this is not a decision I can make alone. I will need to consult with my advisors." Tessa stepped forward, her voice respectful. "We understand, but time is not on our side. We are refugees, and we have nowhere else to turn." Rhodes looked at Tessa, her gaze softening. "I know, and that's why we're willing to listen. Follow me. We'll discuss this in more detail." The group walked together toward a nearby building, a modern structure that blended seamlessly with the natural landscape. Inside, the walls were lined with screens showing various data and images of Earth's cities, people, and wildlife. It was a peaceful place with no signs of war or conflict. It was clear that Earth had its own struggles, but they were different from what the Athelians had endured. As they sat down at a large table, President Rhodes spoke again. "Tell me more about your people, Captain Kale. What happened to your homeworld? Kale took a deep breath, his voice filled with sorrow. Our planet was struck by an energy wave, something we couldn't control or understand. It destroyed everything. Our cities, our crops, our way of life. We fought, but we couldn't save our world. And then, when we turned to the Galactic Council for help, they abandoned us. We were cast aside, left to drift in space with no place to call home. Rhodes listened quietly, her expression somber. I'm sorry for what you've gone through. No one should have to suffer like that. But Earth is not without its own challenges. If we are to help you, it will require a lot of trust and cooperation. Kale nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. He had no idea what Earth's decision would be, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like they might actually have a chance. We are willing to work with you, Kale said, his voice filled with resolve. Whatever it takes. Rhodes smiled slightly, nodding in return. Then let's see how we can make this work, together. The days following the first meeting between Earth and the Athelians were filled with tense discussions and careful planning. President Elara Rhodes, along with her team of advisors, worked tirelessly to find a way to help the exiled aliens. Captain Kale and Tessa, meanwhile, gave Earth's leaders everything they had. A full account of the Athelians' history, their knowledge, and the technology they could offer in exchange for refuge. It was a strange experience for both sides. The humans were fascinated by the advanced technology the Athelians possessed. They had never encountered such things before. Faster than light travel, energy sources far more efficient than anything Earth had developed, and medical techniques that could cure diseases thought incurable. These were just a few of the gifts the Athelians brought with them. But the humans were also cautious. They had to be sure they weren't being deceived. For Captain Kale, the idea of sharing his people's most precious discoveries was both an act of trust and desperation. Their planet was gone, and their people were scattered, broken. What else could they offer except their knowledge? It was all they had left. In a private meeting with President Rhodes, Kale explained further. We can help Earth in ways you can't imagine. Our energy sources could eliminate the need for fossil fuels. We've cured diseases that once wiped out entire populations. If you let us stay, we can give you all this and more. Rhodes listened, her eyes steady. She wasn't quick to trust, but she had seen enough to understand that the Athelians were serious. They were offering Earth a chance to move forward, a chance to leap ahead of other races in the galaxy. But there was also the matter of the Athelians' history, their fall from grace in the eyes of the Galactic Council. Would the galaxy see this as a threat? Would Earth be dragged into a war it wasn't ready for? I don't doubt what you're offering, Kale, Rhodes said after a long pause. But Earth has to be careful. We have to protect our people. If we welcome you, there's no telling what the galaxy might do. We've never been part of the Council, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. I have to think about Earth's future, too. Kale nodded, understanding her concerns. He had no answers for her, only hope. All we ask for is a place to call home. We have nothing left but each other and our knowledge. If we could offer you something in return, it would be the gift of survival. Together, we could build something greater than what we were. For days, Earth's leaders debated the matter. Some were hesitant, unsure if trusting the Athelians was the right choice. Others, however, saw the potential. With the Galactic Council turning its back on the Athelians, Earth could position itself as an independent power, free from the political games of the greater galaxy. It would be a chance to stand on its own, to be part of something bigger than the small corner of space it once inhabited. In the end, President Rhodes made her decision. She addressed the United Nations and Earth's various global leaders. After careful consideration, we have decided to extend our assistance to the Athelians. They seek refuge, and we are in a position to offer them a new home. Their knowledge could be the key to Earth's future, and we will not turn away those in need. The announcement was met with mixed reactions. Some were thrilled at the idea of working with an advanced alien race, while others worried about the implications. Would Earth become a target for the rest of the galaxy? Would the Athelians be a threat? But President Rhodes stood firm. This is a decision based on our values as humans. We believe in helping those who are suffering, regardless of where they come from. And we believe that, together, we can build a future that benefits everyone. As Earth prepared to welcome the Athelians, the aliens began to share more of their technology with Earth's scientists. They revealed how their energy systems worked. Energy that didn't rely on fossil fuels or dangerous materials. It was clean, efficient, and nearly unlimited. A small group of human scientists, guided by Athelian experts, began working together to develop new power sources for Earth's cities. In a separate lab, the Athelians also shared their advanced medical technologies. Diseases that had once been incurable were now being treated, and Earth's hospitals began to see real progress in their ability to save lives. The human doctors and Athelian healers worked side by side, learning from each other and improving Earth's medical practices. It was a time of excitement and hope. For the first time in a long while, Earth's people began to believe that there was more to life than just survival. There was a future to look forward to, a future that included the Athelians. Kale and Tessa watched as the humans embraced the new technologies. It was humbling to see their people's gifts used for the betterment of another world. But even as they worked, they knew that this alliance was fragile. Earth's decision to help the Athelians had already sent ripples through the galaxy. There were those who would not be pleased with this new partnership. But for now, they had a moment of peace. For the first time in a long time, they were no longer running. They had found a home. And perhaps, just perhaps, they could make a difference, not only for the Athelians, but for all the races that had been cast aside by the galaxy. As weeks turned into months, the partnership between Earth and the Athelians grew stronger. Earth began to benefit from the technology the Athelians shared, with new energy sources powering entire cities and medical advancements, saving countless lives. The world was slowly changing for the better, but there were challenges along the way. While Earth's leaders were supportive of the alliance, not everyone on the planet was so welcoming. Some were still fearful of the Athelians and their advanced technology. There were protests in several cities, with people questioning whether it was safe to trust an alien race, especially one that had been rejected by the rest of the galaxy. Many feared that the Athelians could bring danger to Earth, that their knowledge might come with hidden risks. Kale and Tessa understood the fear. They had been rejected by the galaxy after all. They had seen the worst side of the universe, and knew that not everyone would embrace them so easily. But they also believed in their cause. They were here to help, not harm. One day, as Kale and Tessa walked through a newly built research center in one of Earth's largest cities, they were met with a group of reporters eager to hear their side of the story. Earth's media had been buzzing with questions about the Athelian presence. How did they really feel about being on Earth? Were they planning to take over? Was this just the beginning of an invasion? Kale stepped in front of the reporters, his posture straight and his expression calm. "We did not come to Earth to conquer," he said firmly. "We came to seek refuge, to share our knowledge, and to build a future together. We understand that there are concerns, but we are committed to working alongside the people of Earth. Our goal is peace, nothing more." The reporters listened attentively, but Kale could see the skepticism in their eyes. There was still uncertainty in the air. Tessa stepped forward, adding, "We know that trust must be earned, and we are willing to prove ourselves. We have no intention of causing harm. Our people have lost everything. We want nothing more than to contribute to Earth's future." The questions continued, some supportive, others critical. But in the end, Kale and Tessa had said what they needed to. It was up to the people of Earth to decide whether to trust them. As the days passed, the protests began to lose some of their steam. Many people who had been frightened by the Athelians' arrival started to see the tangible benefits they brought. New energy sources were reducing pollution, and diseases that had once plagued humanity were being cured. The Athelians were not invaders. They were neighbors, offering help when Earth needed it most. But there were still a few who refused to believe in the partnership, a growing faction of Earth's population, who had been influenced by the protests, began to speak out more aggressively. They called themselves the Guardians of Earth and believed that Earth should remain independent, free from the influence of any outside forces, alien or otherwise. One evening, as Cale and Tessa were walking through a quiet park, discussing the progress they had made, they heard a voice behind them. "You don't belong here," a man shouted. Cale turned to see a group of individuals standing in the shadows, their faces filled with anger. The man at the front stepped forward, shaking his fist. "We don't want your technology. We don't want your kind here. You're not welcome on our planet." Tessa took a protective step forward, but Cale held up a hand to stop her. He understood the fear these people felt. "I understand your concerns," he said calmly, "but you have nothing to fear from us. We only want to help. We've lost everything, and Earth is the only place that has given us a chance." The man sneered. "Your kind doesn't deserve a chance. You're just here to take over, to control us." Cal's voice remained steady. "If that's what you believe, there's nothing I can say to change your mind. But I ask you to look around. Look at the progress we've made together. Look at the lives we've saved. We are not here to take anything. We are here to give." The group fell silent, but Cal could see the doubt in their eyes. They weren't convinced, but they were listening. For the first time since their arrival, he felt like they were being heard, not as invaders, but as people who had something valuable to offer. As the group slowly dispersed, Cale and Tessa exchanged glances. "It won't be easy," Tessa said quietly. "There will always be people who fear us." Cale nodded. "But we have to stay focused on the good we're doing. For every protester, there are thousands of people who are grateful for what we've brought, and we can't let fear stop us from helping them." In the months that followed, the Athelians continued to work alongside the humans. Despite the protests and the opposition from the Guardians of Earth, the partnership began to solidify. Earth's cities flourished, powered by clean energy, and humanity's health improved. The Athelians had given them more than just technology. They had given them hope. But Cale knew the road ahead wouldn't be without challenges. The galaxy still looked on with uncertainty, and Earth's position in the larger galactic community remained unclear. Would they be left to stand alone, or would the galaxy turn against them for helping the Athelians? For now, Cale and Tessa focused on the future, working side by side with the humans. Together, they would build a new world, one where fear no longer ruled, and where hope was a force stronger than any division. As Earth continued to embrace its new alliance with the Athelians, a calm began to settle over the planet. Cities powered by Athelian energy thrived, and medical breakthroughs brought new life to humanity. The bond between Earth and the Athelians seemed to be growing stronger every day. However, not all was as peaceful as it appeared on the surface. There were still whispers in the shadows, rumors of something more dangerous than the protests and skepticism Earth had already faced. It began with a series of strange messages intercepted by Earth's communication networks. The messages were short, cryptic, and filled with warnings. "Trust the Athelians at your own peril. They may appear friendly, but they are deceivers." The messages spoke of a dark past, one that the Athelians had kept hidden from the humans. Though most dismissed them as the work of radicals, some within Earth's government began to take them seriously. President Alara Rhodes was one of those who kept a close eye on the messages. She had always trusted Cale and his people, but these warnings made her uneasy. She called for a meeting with her closest advisors, including Tessa, to discuss the matter. "Are these messages truly from the Galaxy's Council?" Ilara asked, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. Tessa shook her head. "We have no way of knowing. The Galaxy's Council has turned its back on us. We haven't heard from them in months, and we can't rely on them to provide answers. But we do know that the Athelians have nothing to hide. They've shared everything they can with us, everything about their history, their technology, their struggles." Ilara sighed, looking out the window at the bustling city below. "I want to believe that, Tessa. But there's something in these messages. It feels like there's something we're not being told." Tessa leaned forward, her expression serious. "If there's something in the Athelians' past that they haven't shared, we need to know. We can't afford to ignore it. Not when everything is on the line." Ilara nodded. "I'll speak to Kale. We need to get to the bottom of this, for the sake of Earth and the Athelians." That night, Kale was summoned to Earth's central government building for a private meeting with President Rhodes. He had noticed the change in the atmosphere on Earth. People were still largely supportive, but there was an underlying tension, a growing sense of doubt. He hoped that he and Tessa could calm those fears, but now it seemed there were new questions that needed answers. When Cal entered the room, he could see the concern on Ilara's face. She didn't waste time getting to the point. "Cal," she said, her voice steady but firm, "we've been receiving strange messages, warnings. They claim that the Athelians are not what they seem, that you are hiding something from us." Cal's heart sank. He had feared this moment might come. He had known that his people's past, filled with conflict and loss, might one day catch up to them. But he hadn't expected it to happen so soon, not after all the progress they had made with Earth. "I understand your concerns," Cal said quietly, his voice calm but tinged with sadness. "There are things we have not shared with you, things that are difficult to speak of, even now." Tessa, who had been standing by, stepped forward. "Cal, it's time. We can't keep hiding the truth. The people of Earth deserve to know who we are, what we've been through." Cal nodded. He had always known that one day they would have to face the truth. It was better to tell it now, while Earth still had a chance to decide for itself. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "Our homeworld, Athelia, was once a thriving planet, a part of the Galactic Council. We were allies with many races, and we were known for our peaceful ways and our advanced knowledge. But everything changed when a faction of our people, led by a powerful leader, began to seek domination. They wanted more power, more control, and they began to fight against the rest of the galaxy. They called themselves the Purifiers." Kale paused, remembering the pain of those years. The Purifiers believed that the galaxy's weaker races should be subjugated, that only the strongest should survive. They caused chaos and war. They betrayed everything we stood for. In the end, we fought back, but it was too late. Our world was destroyed, torn apart by the very conflict we had hoped to avoid. And the Purifiers, they vanished, leaving behind a legacy of destruction. Ilara listened intently, her eyes filled with understanding, but also with sorrow. "So, the warnings Earth is receiving, they are from these Purifiers?" Kale nodded. "Yes, they still exist in the shadows, operating in secret. We've been hunted since the fall of Athelia. The Purifiers are out there, and they will stop at nothing to reclaim what they lost. They want to destroy us and anyone who helps us." Tessa spoke up, her voice filled with determination. "The Purifiers are our past, not our future. We are not the same people we once were. We are here to make amends, to build something better. We won't let them drag us back into the darkness." Ilara took a moment to absorb the weight of Cal's words. "And you believe these Purifiers are the ones behind the messages?" "I do," Cal replied. "They want to sow doubt, to turn Earth against us. But they will not succeed. We will fight for this alliance. We will protect Earth from them, just as you've protected us." Ilara stood up, her resolve clear. "We will stand with you, Cal. Together, we will face whatever comes our way." And so, Earth and the Athelians prepared for a new battle, not against each other, but against a dark force from the past. It was a fight for trust, for survival, and for the future of their united world. The revelation of the Purifiers had shaken both the Athelians and the people of Earth. The understanding that a dangerous faction from the Athelian past still existed, hidden in the shadows, had brought with it a new sense of urgency. Cal and Tessa had known for years that their enemies would never stop hunting them. But now, the fight was no longer just about survival. It was about protecting the future they were trying to build, both for the Athelians and for Earth. President Rhodes had wasted no time in gathering her council. The news that the Purifiers were actively working to sabotage the alliance between Earth and the Athelians had been met with shock, but also with determination. Earth had come a long way in its partnership with the Athelians, and it was not going to let anything, especially an ancient enemy, destroy that progress. "We will not be intimidated by these Purifiers," President Rhodes said, her voice steady as she addressed the assembly of Earth's leaders. "We stand with the Athelians, and we will protect our future." At the same time, Kale and Tessa worked tirelessly with Earth's security forces. They knew the Purifiers were not an enemy that could be fought with just technology or military force alone. The Purifiers were insidious, operating from the shadows, planting seeds of doubt and fear wherever they could. It was a fight for the hearts and minds of the people, and it was a battle that would require more than just weapons. Kale stood on the balcony of Earth's central government building, looking out over the vast city. It was a symbol of all that they had achieved together. Below him, people went about their daily lives, unaware of the danger lurking just out of sight. He couldn't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility. The Purifiers wanted to take everything from them. They wanted to tear down the fragile peace they had worked so hard to build. "We have to stop them," Kale said to Tessa, who stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. "We can't let the darkness of our past destroy the future we started here." Tessa nodded, her eyes filled with resolve. "We've faced worse before. The Purifiers think they can break us, but they're wrong. This time, we're ready." As they continued to strategize, news from the front lines of the galaxy came in. The Purifiers had begun to mobilize, sending covert operatives to infiltrate key locations across Earth. Small, isolated attacks began to happen. Incidents meant to sow chaos and fear, not to defeat Earth or the Athelians outright, but to divide them. These attacks were aimed at fueling mistrust between the two races and eroding the alliance from within. In one city, a group of protesters calling themselves the Guardians of Earth had been found distributing false information, claiming that the Athelians were secretly planning to take over Earth. The group's leader, a charismatic figure named Marcus Hale, had become a voice of dissent, rallying people to his cause with lies and manipulation. He had been influenced, possibly even controlled by the Purifiers. It was clear that they were pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Tessa and Kale knew they had to act fast. If the Purifiers continued to spread their lies unchecked, they risked losing everything they had worked for. Earth's unity could fracture, and the bond between the two races could be shattered. "We need to expose them," Tessa said firmly. "We need to show everyone the truth about the Purifiers, about what they've done, and about the lies they've been spreading." Kale agreed. "We'll find Marcus Hale and the other leaders of this movement. We'll prove they're nothing but pawns in a game we won't lose." With Earth's intelligence forces working alongside Athelian technology, the hunt for the Purifiers began in earnest. Kale and Tessa led covert operations to uncover the true identities of the group's leaders and track down the sources of the false messages that had been spreading. But it wasn't just about stopping the Purifiers' immediate attacks. It was about rebuilding the trust that had been shaken. They needed to show the people of Earth that the Athelians were not enemies, but allies. As they worked, they uncovered more than they had hoped. Marcus Hale was just the tip of the iceberg. The Purifiers had infiltrated Earth's government at several levels, spreading lies and disinformation to create chaos. The situation was more complicated than they had initially realized. But Kale was determined. "We can't let them win. We have to show Earth the truth about who we are and who they are. We won't allow fear to control us." Days turned into weeks, and the battle for Earth's trust intensified. Small victories came as evidence was gathered, but the Purifiers remained a shadowy force, always one step ahead. The people of Earth began to see the truth, slowly but surely, but it wasn't enough yet. Every day, the tension grew. Every day, the threat loomed larger. Finally, Kale and Tessa came up with a plan, one that would force the purifiers out into the open. Using a combination of Athelian technology and Earth's communication networks, they would broadcast a message across the globe. It would be a declaration of truth, a call for unity, and a challenge to the purifiers. The message would be simple but powerful. The Athelians stand with Earth. The purifiers stand alone. As the day of the broadcast approached, Kale and Tessa knew they had reached a turning point. The storm was gathering, and soon, the world would have to choose. The day of the broadcast had arrived. The tension in the air was palpable, as people from every corner of Earth gathered to witness the message that would change the course of the alliance between Earth and the Athelians. Kale and Tessa, along with President Rhodes and Earth's leaders, stood at the center of Earth's largest communication facility, ready to send out the truth to the world. They had spent weeks preparing, ensuring the message was clear and powerful. It wasn't just about exposing the purifiers. It was about showing Earth's people the strength of unity, the importance of standing together in the face of fear and uncertainty. They had to prove that the future of both Earth and the Athelians depended on trust and collaboration, not division. Kale looked out over the room at the team gathered around him. Tessa stood at his side, her expression determined. Ilara Rhodes stood next to them, her face resolute. The time for hiding was over. The purifiers had forced their hand, and now the truth would be broadcast to the world. Tessa gave Kale a reassuring nod. "This is it," she said softly. "We have to be ready for whatever happens next." Kale nodded, though he felt a tight knot in his chest. The purifiers had already made their moves. They had planted seeds of doubt, created fear, and tried to tear apart the alliance from the inside. But now, the people of Earth would hear the truth directly from him, from the Athelians. And with that truth, he hoped to reach their hearts. "Let's begin," President Rhodes said. She gave the signal, and a technician began the countdown to broadcast. A silence fell over the room as the monitors flickered, and the world prepared to listen. Across the globe, millions tuned in to hear what Kel had to say. The message was simple yet powerful. A series of images appeared on screens around the world. Images of the Athelian people, their cities, and their history. It was a story of loss, betrayal, and hope. It was a story about the war against the purifiers and their destruction of Athelia. It was a message about a people who had been rejected by the galaxy and had nowhere else to turn. Kel's voice echoed through every home, every public space. "My name is Kale, and I am an Athelian. My people have suffered much, but we stand here today, united with Earth, because we believe in the future. We came to this planet not to conquer, but to rebuild. We are not our past. We are not the purifiers. We are the survivors." The images on the screen shifted, showing the progress that had been made. The cities powered by Athelian technology, the medical advancements that had saved lives, the hope that had been restored. Kel's voice continued, unwavering. "We have shared our knowledge, our technology, and our hearts. But there are those who still seek to divide us, who spread lies and fear. They are the purifiers. They are the ones who destroyed our world. They are the ones who want to see us fail. But we will not let them." Tessa stepped forward, joining Kale in the broadcast. "We stand with Earth. Together, we have the strength to overcome the darkness. We will not be controlled by fear, by hatred, or by lies. The purifiers want to tear us apart, but we will stay united." The broadcast was a call to action, a challenge to the purifiers, a plea to the people of Earth to trust in the alliance they had built. It was a reminder that unity was the only way forward. Across Earth, people watched in silence. The message had struck a chord with many, but there were still those who clung to their fears. As the broadcast ended, President Rhodes addressed the world one final time. "We will not be divided," she said. "We will stand together. Earth and the Athelians will fight side by side to ensure that the purifiers have no place here. We will protect this world. We will protect each other. But even as the message ended, Kale knew the battle was far from over. The purifiers would not give up so easily. They would lash out. They would try to create chaos. But Earth had heard the truth. The people had seen the faces of the Athelians, heard their story, and understood the gravity of the situation. As Cal and Tessa walked out of the facility, they knew the real fight had just begun. The purifiers would not be defeated by words alone. But the message had been delivered, and the seeds of doubt they had planted were now being challenged. It was time to stand firm, to show the strength of their bond. "We'll face whatever comes next," Tessa said, her voice strong. Kale smiled. "Together, we will." Weeks passed, and the purifiers, seeing that their plans to divide Earth had failed, began to reveal themselves. They staged attacks, targeting Earth's communication networks and critical infrastructure. But each time they struck, the unity between Earth and the Athelians grew stronger. The people refused to back down, and they rallied around the truth that had been shared with them. The purifiers, once powerful and elusive, found themselves outmatched. Their efforts to create chaos were thwarted, and their support dwindled. They had underestimated the resolve of the people they thought they could control. In the end, the purifiers were defeated, not by force, but by the strength of unity. Earth and the Athelians stood together, their bond unbreakable. The shadows of the past had been cast aside, and a new future had begun. Together, they built a world of hope, peace, and collaboration. A world where trust and understanding triumphed over fear and division.